I call Carmel Sepuloni.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, I want to start with the title and then I'll go through to the commencement. But firstly, Mr Chair, I want to make the point that this bill should be renamed the Tricky New Zealand Flags Referendums Bill. And the reason I say that, Mr Chair, is because much discussion has been had about this. The order in which the questions have been asked in the two referendums are back to front. Mr Chair, the first question that New Zealanders should have been asked is, do you want to change the flag? But instead, Mr Chair, the first referendum that's been done is presenting New Zealanders with a range of options when they haven't even had the option to say whether or not they wanted to change the flag. So this debate, or this referendum, Mr Chair, is back to front, and it's back to front because the government have done it deliberately because they have their own agenda. They want to change the flag. They don't really care if New Zealanders want to change the flag. They want to change the flag. And so to mitigate the chances of New Zealanders in the first referendum saying they don't want to change the flag, like 70% of them did through a New Zealand Herald poll, they've twisted it around, turned it upside down, and they only provide the option to choose between the current New Zealand flag and an alternative in the second referendum. It's back to front and it's tricky. Tricky like the national government, Mr Flag. Mr Flag, not Mr Flag, Mr Chair. Mr Chair, I also want to say the other name this bill could have, which would be appropriate, is the John Key's Vanity Project Bill. Mr Chair, because let's be honest, this bill is not about New Zealand, it's not about progress, it's not about being progressive, it's about John Key, the national government, wanting to have some sort of legacy when their term is over, and it will be over, Mr Chair, and because they've achieved nothing else for New Zealand, nothing else, they're clutching at straws and they're going, what can we do? And all they can think of is forcing New Zealand to change the flag so that in 20 years' time, if they were in the position where it worked, then they could say, we were responsible for changing the flag. We were responsible for changing the flag. So that's an alternative title, Mr Speaker, John Key's Vanity Project Bill. Mr Speaker, Mr Chair, I want to talk to the commencement side of this. And so what we have here is in clause 3, if in the second flag referendum the current New Zealand flag gains a greater number of votes than the alternative flag design, then section 69, 70 and 71 do not commence. So we would not commence at all. And Mr Chair, what I want to point out is that because of the back-the-front way in which these referendums are being done, we would have wasted millions of dollars in having public meetings that people didn't turn up to, and collecting designs from people and putting them out there in the first referendum because of the fact that it says here, if in the second flag referendum the current New Zealand flag gains a greater number of votes than the alternative flag design, then section 69, 70 and 71 do not commence. And Mr Chair, how many millions of dollars would we have wasted at that point? And I guarantee, Mr Chair, that there will be at least twice as many people participating in that second referendum than what there will be in the first, because there's so many New Zealanders out there already who have indicated not only necessarily that they don't want to change the flag, but also some are saying this is not the time to change the flag, and many are saying, given the pressures that this country is under that national government, given the bad job that national government's doing, given the other priorities that we have as a country, why would we waste $26 million on two referendum about a flag? Many New Zealanders are saying it's about democracy, Nikki Wagner said. She says it's about democracy. If it was really about democracy, then the government would have got the referendum around the right way and asked New Zealanders first, do you want to change the flag? But Nikki Wagner knows, as well as what we know, this is not about democracy. This is about the national government and John Key and their vanity project. Nikki Wagner knows that. So, Mr Chair, let's go back to alternative titles for this bill. Let's go back to alternative titles that really suit the mood of New Zealanders, the way in which they're feeling about this bill. We could call this money that could be better spent elsewhere, Bill? Because actually, where could we spend $26 million? Some worthwhile places that $26 million could go. Perhaps it could go to the child poverty issue that we're facing as a country that government's done nothing to address. Perhaps it could go to the housing crisis that government...
The Honourable Nick Smith.
Mr. Chair.